Welcome to the GTN show and welcome back, Heather.
Oh, thank you and welcome, guys. This week's show, we have discovered a new app that can help you track your carbon offset. We've also spotted some new shoes in the style of Crocs from New Balance.
Plus, we take a look at the new Shimano 105, all the racing action for the last weekend, including Challenge Roth, and the PTO have announced a stacked field for the PTO Canadian Open.
Okay, we're going to kick things off by taking a look at some of the stuff we spotted on the internet over the last few days. And this post from Josh Amberger, luckily, before he raced in Andorra with, well, a rather huge bolt that has somehow managed to make its way into his tyre. And I mean, I don't think you could even do that if you tried.
That's quite impressive. I mean, your sealant's not going to seal that one, I'm afraid.
Yeah, that is a dead tyre, isn't it?
That is impressive. Rather that day than on race day,
exactly.
though, I suppose. Yeah, and then we have this, which we saw. It was actually in the live stream at Challenge Roth. Magnus Ditlev, after winning Challenge Roth, which we'll get to in a few minutes, he poured the beer over his head, or didn't.
Yeah, that's a little awkward, isn't it? He needs more practice being on the top of the podium.
Exactly. Yeah, very, very awkward. Then we have these, well, I don't know what to say about these. New Balance foam clogs, I think they're calling them, which are basically New Balance's version of Crocs.
I think Mark will be excited about those. He'll be racing in them before we...
Yeah, faster version, yeah.
We've also spotted, they're not yet out, but on their way from Adidas, something a little kind of similarly inspired. Born in 2001, reborn in 2022. They say coming soon, the Adi Foam Q takes its inspiration from the crafted foam of the archival Adidas Quake of 2001. We're running out of ideas, aren't we? We're going to have to go 20 years back to reinvent things.
Heather's going to be first in line for a pair of those. You see her rocking them next week. Yeah. And finally, we have this from the Triathlon Halton in the Netherlands this past weekend. And yeah, it looks like someone put the blue carpet for the finish line over a manhole or something.
Oh, it's
but
awful.
It is carnage. Watch this. Okay, now moving on to some tri news and starting with that exciting start list for the PTO Canadian Open, which is coming up at the end of the month. And yeah, the PTO have announced a pretty stacked fields here. Now, we already knew Kristian Blummenfelt was going up against Gustav Iden for the first time, that we've seen them racing each other head to head. And we also knew that Taylor Knibb was going to be there and Laura Philipp was going to be there, but they've announced a whole lot of more names and wow. What a stacked field.
It shows what a decent prize purse can do, doesn't it?
We've got $1 million on the line there.
Yeah, so we've got the recent European champion, Daniel Bakkegaard from these, Frankfurt, Patrick Langer, who's just raced. I mean, yeah, we can only read out a few names here, can't we? But I'm just listening. Joe Skipper, Ben Canute, Matt Hansen, Carl Smith, another one exciting. I mean, who's your money on with that? If we go past the Norwegians, who are obviously the kind of favourites. Any wild cards in there, you think?
There's so many guys on there that have recently won races, like Frederick Funk. Jackson Laundry recently won a major race. Carl Smith, these guys...
He's got the potential.
Any one of them could mix it up. It's going to be a really exciting race. And there's also a few dark horses there. So it's going to be very exciting. On the women's side, it's just a stack. Like we said, Laura Philipp, Taylor Knibb, Sky Munch, Emma Pallant-Brown, who just won like 3 races in a row, Ginny Metzler, Paula Findlay, Jackie Herring, Holly Lawrence, and I'm about a third of the way through.
Ashley Gentle, who's also just won a race. Yeah, we'll come on to that in a moment.
Absolutely stacked. We do have to kind of hope that all of their bikes make it there, because that's just...
Oh, God, I know.
Flora flew into Canada last week and her bike didn't make it. And I've heard that there's quite a few pros who raced in Montreal last week and they still don't have their bikes.
That's all with Air Canada, so I wonder if they're checking some of the other airlines maybe at the moment, or
let's hope so.
Finding out a backup bike to get to the
fly
to the
into America somewhere and drive there maybe. I don't know. But yeah, hopefully they will get there at the end of the month and it's all sorted out and we can have a cracking race to watch.
Yeah, well, sticking with the PTO, they have joined up with Precision Fuel and Hydration to offer a pretty comprehensive nutrition plan for anyone who's racing any of the PTO tours. So that includes the Canadian Open, the US Open and Collins Cup. Now, they basically have an online tool which will take into consideration your target time, the weather, and obviously the race that you're doing. Well, that encompasses that. And the extra thing that they're doing, because Precision Fuel and Hydration are working with the PTO, their fuel is going to be on the course, and they're even going to tell you what's going to be available at what points to help you to really dial in that plan. And the whole idea is to make sure, well, to try and reduce the amount of DNFs. And PTO are hoping that they can reduce it altogether, which is pretty bold.
Zero DNFs is their goal.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it is bold. This tool from Precision Fuel and Hydration is actually available to anyone for any event. You can go onto their website and check it out and build your own personal nutrition plan and hydration strategy for your race. But obviously, with the PTO races, they're going to take into account the specific things for this race. Like Heather says, the things that are on the course, the weather conditions, all of these things, so you know exactly what you're doing on race day, which is taking it to the next level, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool that age groupers can get access to that. On to some team announcements. We've got the Commonwealth Games coming up in, well, I think just over a month's time or something. It's pretty soon, isn't it? Well, Team England have finalised their team. We already knew 4 of the team members. We had Alex Yee, Johnny Brownlee, Sophie Coldwell and George Taylor-Brand. Well, they are going to be joined by Sian Raisley and Sam Dickinson.
Yep, Team Scotland have also announced their team, and that is Beth Potter, who's in really good form, together with Grant Sheldon, Cameron Main and Sophia Green. And then Wales has also announced their team, which is Dominic Coy, Yeston Herritt, Olivia Matthias, Izzy Morris, and of course, Non Stanford.
Yeah, and then, I mean, we don't know all the final entrants, but we've obviously got Flora Duffy, hoping to see her race again back in the UK. We've also Hayden Wild, the Olympic bronze medalist, going to be on the start line representing New Zealand. Matt Hauser, Jake Birtwistle and Charlotte McShane are down for Team Australia. So there'll be a few more names to add, and hopefully when we get the final team list, we'll be able to talk a little bit more about that competition.
Okay, on with your tri news, and Cadex has released that bike. Yep, Kristian Blummenfelt's bike that he won Ironman St. George on is now available to you. The Cadex Tri, as they've called it, is available for ordering now and will be shipped around about October. The frame set weighs 4,577 grams, so competitive, and it's that standard one that doesn't have a top tube. So it's a pretty unique design. The down tube is made for long distance triathlon, as they say. So it's got space for a bladder, which stores up to 1,000 mils of water. It also has space for up to 10 gels. It also has space for a toolbox. So a pretty useful down tube on that bike. It will also ship this frame set with its own travel case. So apparently it's made to travel really well, and it comes with its own travel case designed in conjunction with Topeak. And it's, as I said, available now for order. Delivery around October, which probably means it won't be ready for Kona. Touch and go, maybe. And it costs £6,499 or €6,999. It's a pretty exciting bike to own, I suppose.
Well, that price point sounds, if you look at it quickly, fairly reasonable, but that's because it is just the frame set. So you can get the wheels, which Kristian used, the Cadex Aero 4-spoke disc tubeless. The front wheel is coming in at £1,500 or around €1,600 and Australian dollars, around 2.5. You've also got the rear wheel that comes in the same, and then you've got the Cadex Aero disc tubeless disc brake rear wheel, and that's coming in at £2,200 or around €4,000. So when you start to add it all up, it is a bit of a super bike.
Yeah, it is definitely a super bike. It does come with the whole aero bar system integrated, and obviously that's very adjustable. They say it's all built around being adjustable for the athlete, but yeah, you'd have to add on the whole group set and the wheels to that price. Pretty costly, but a pretty cool looking bike.
Yeah, it is. On to What the Tech, and Mark might not be here today, but he has still been busy getting excited about tech. So he's been out at Challenge Roth, and if you haven't yet spotted it, we've got a video that's come from there that went out on Sunday looking at all the new tech that Mark has spotted, including some 3D printed bike shoes. We've got new integrated hydration systems, Lucy Charles Barkley's bike, and more.
Yeah, so tune in for that. But right now, we're going to talk about the new Shimano 105. This is pretty exciting because it's basically trickle-down technology, except it's not really trickle-down technology because they've basically reinvented 105 entirely. They're not just taking the Altegra technology and calling it 105 and making it cheaper. They've invented a whole new range, essentially. It's 12-speed shifting. It's got a wireless cockpit, which is new. So basically, your hoods are now wirelessly connected to your rear derailleurs, which There's no wires going through your aero bars or through your handlebars or anything, which is pretty cool innovation. They say it's got enhanced ergonomics, enhanced aerodynamics, and enhanced aesthetics, if they do say so themselves. They've got better disc brakes apparently, which are easier to bleed and have more clearance, so you get less squeaking and touching. It connects to the Shimano eTube app, so you can adjust your gears using your phone. And there's also a wheel set to go with it, a Shimano 105 wheel set with a C32 and a C46 to complement the Ultegra C, I think they were 42 and C50. So there's a whole new wheel set to go with it too. Now, for the diehards, there's a bit of bad news. It does not come in a rim brake version. You cannot use this for your rim brake bike. So
they're being weeded out slowly, aren't they?
You can hear the death knell of that rim brake bike. Anyway, there's more bad news because it doesn't really work for triathlon bikes just yet. So if you want to use it for your triathlon bike and have that wireless shifting, unfortunately, you can't. You have to still use the wired buttons and the wired blips, and then you have to connect a little adapter to the back of that junction box, which then runs a wire to your shifters. So it is still wired essentially, so you don't get the wireless benefit if you want the 12-speed Shimano 105 on it. So yeah, they say that's coming in the future, but yeah, it's not quite there yet for triathletes. It does save 20% on your cost apparently on the Ultegra DR2, so it is more affordable and you do get 12-speed out of it. So yeah, definitely look for that in the future, but yeah, not quite ready for the triathlon market just yet, frustratingly. Okay, moving on. Mark Allen has announced a collaboration with what is essentially artificial intelligence. That's right, he's released the Tri-Dot Mark Allen edition, which is essentially using an algorithmic intelligence or AI to help you with your coaching. He says the big limiting factor for coaches has been the brain's inability to match complex training data with human experience. Until now, there was no way for any coach could assimilate all the possible scenarios and produce programming from that data. This is the future of coaching, and I'm incredibly excited about being on the cutting edge with Tri-Dot. They say, Tri-Dot says that this is the first of its kind. I'm not sure it is, or there's a few people competing to be the first, because we've actually worked with Humango a little bit, and Mark's currently doing a program, and they also have algorithmic coaching in their platform. So it's interesting, and Mark Allen's obviously on board with this, and maybe it is the future of coaching, do you think?
Who knows? But yeah, we have definitely seen, there's quite a few brands, I think, you've started to look into it, so maybe the claim of the first is a bold one. But
getting computers to crunch your training data, maybe it is the future.
Well, we'll have to wait and see, won't we? Something else which is quite exciting in the tech world, there's a new app that has just launched last month called Climate Games. Now, this has an incentive to basically try to get businesses to sign up to their app, which then they, by paying a set amount, we can't actually find out how much that is, but they will then give that to their employees, and the incentive is to run, bike, swim, or get active, and you'll earn points which you can then use and help your business to direct for environmental benefits, so getting them to plant trees through various other companies. So apparently one of these being Ecologi, who very much focus on reducing the carbon footprint. There's also schemes to help remove waste from the oceans. So we're kind of trying to find the exact nitty-gritty of this one. But it sounds like it's got a really cool potential to basically encouraging people to do exercise and helping the environment, but it does involve a cost.
I think I tried to read through it and try to figure out what it was, and like Heather says, couldn't figure out what the cost was. But it does look like they're trying to essentially gamify your carbon offsetting. So you can create challenges between your friends or in your company where you can keep track of how much you've offset your carbon, how many trees you've planted, how many plastics you've removed from the oceans, for example, and kind of gamify it and see who's doing better for that day or that week or that year. So pretty cool. And if you can get companies involved in this, then I guess you can get all your employees involved to all try and hit a certain goal for the company. Their goal is to remove 50 million tons, I think they said, of carbon from the atmosphere and plant a lot of trees. So it's pretty cool. I'm not sure whether I'm going to be signing up to it anytime soon, because it's basically just going to tell me to ride more, maybe.
I mean, the amount of exercise you do, you'd be planting trees everywhere, James, surely.
Maybe, yeah, but I do also fly to races and stuff too. So how many times do I have to go riding my bike to offset one flight to
I don't think we can do the maths on that one, can we?
Well, maybe the app can.
Maybe. Our final piece of tech news is this rather sort of funky looking shoe that we have spotted. There's a slip-on trail shoe.
I like the look of these. That's right, Naked have launched the TR trail racing shoe without any laces. It's basically a sock-like design. They're bonded seams. It's got a carbon plate in the bottom, and it's obviously got pretty good grip on the bottom for trail running. And they call it the Trail Racer. I do question this a little bit. It looks really cool. It looks really slick, and it looks like it'd be really useful, something like Mark's training for an Xterra, where you've got to slip on your trail shoes as quickly as possible. But I mean, you've probably had it. I've definitely had it. You stand in a muddy puddle on a trail and you lose your shoe even when it's laced in. How is this going to stay on your foot? They do look light and they do look fast. Maybe Mark will have to try them out for his Xterra.
Well, on to race news, and the big race from last weekend was Challenge Roth, and obviously we had Mark out there and Quinn, our cameraman, competing. We'll have a video on that coming very soon, and I'm excited just to hear his race report as well. But on to the pros, and the women's race was exceptionally fast, and Anne Haug was back to great form at this one. She actually recorded the second fastest ever bike and run split, which put her just, I think, about 5 minutes off Chrissy Wellington's record from that course. So she completed the swim in 58 minutes. So it was Fenella Langridge who went out strong with 51. And Fenella actually led for the majority of the race, holding off Anne on the bike. But it was Anne's very strong run with a 2:46 marathon to come through to win in a time of 8:22.42. Fenella Langridge finished second, time of 8:31.41. And Judith Coquera in an 8:46.29. So fairly spread out in the end, but it looked like it was pretty exciting midway through that run.
Yeah, definitely exciting racing from the women there. On the men's side, Jan Frodeno led out the swim and kept leading for the entire bike leg, only to step off the course about 3Ks in with his niggling Achilles injury, which is still an issue, obviously. So that was very frustrating for everyone watching, and no doubt frustrating for Jan too. We wish him get better soon, and he's back on those race courses as soon as possible. But that meant that the door was open for Magnus Ditlev, who actually posted the fastest bike split ever at that race, knocking nearly 4 minutes off Cam Worth's record at that race with a 4:01 bike split. And he backed that up with a 2:40 run to take the tape in an impressive 7:35.48 finish time, which was actually 9 seconds slower than Jan Frodeno's record on that course, which must have been pretty frustrating at the finish line. But he did get the win over second place Patrick Lange, who actually ran the fastest ever run split at that race with the 2:35.10. So he was chasing him down, but he left too much to do after that bike. So Patrick Lange came second and Ronaldo Colucci in third. And yeah, a big exciting day of racing. And yeah, like Heather said, our cameraman Quinn was also out there racing. He wasn't mixing it up with these top guys, but it was his first triathlon ever. Any triathlon. So yeah, pretty interesting video coming out on that on the channel later on this week. So tune in for that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there was also Ironman Austria. It was a man's race only, and that was won by Ivan Tutekin in a time of 8 hours 17. Second place went to Michael Weiss, and third was Lukáš Vogt.
Yeah, and then we had the 70.3 Le Sabre with the women's winner there was Marta Bernardi from Italy, and the men's winner Pierre Lecour from France with a blistering 1:07.07 run split.
Yeah, that is smoking, isn't it? We also had Ironman 70.3 Andorra, and it was Simon Vian who won the men's race. Fairly close, just by less than 2 minutes. And then it was actually Ashley Gentle who had a storming victory in the women's side, winning by over 13 minutes.
Yeah, by miles. And we also had the inaugural Challenge Vansbro, and that was India Lee who took the win there, ahead of Sarah Svensson in second and Jenny Ney in third. And on the men's side, Jasper Svensson took the win ahead of Ognjen Stojanovic. I hope I pronounced that right. Probably not.
Good effort.
Yeah, from Serbia, and Gabriel Sandour in third.
Yeah, well, the last lot of racing was Xterra France, which is always a big race and attracts the top Xterra racers, and it's apparently a pretty technical course when it comes to the bike. But they've got this new edition of the short track racing, which happened the day before, and it is super short. It's a 200-metre swim, a 2K mountain bike, and then a 1K trail run. However, they do it 3 times through, sort of off, one after the other, and it obviously is very exciting racing. That was won by Loan Duvoisson from Switzerland in the women's race, and it was Panagiotis Bitados from Greece who won the men's. Interestingly, Arthur Serrieres was second in the short track, and I say interestingly because he did feature in the podium of the full distance race as well.
The next day they had the full distance race, and the winner there was Marta Mendito from Italy on the women's side. Felix Faricia taking it he's from France on the men's side, and yeah, like Heather says, Arthur Seria is in third the next day too. So yeah, big weekend for him. Well done. Okay, now it's time to look at some of the stuff you've sent us over the last week. And remember, you can send us anything you like, triathlon related. If you're heading to a race, or you've been to a race, or you've done something interesting, or you've got a new bike, drop it in the uploader. The link is on screen now, and we'll feature it in next week's show. So this week we have this from Gavin, and they're in Pooley Bridge in the Lake District. And it's two dads completing their first triathlon, a quarter iron distance on Father's Day. Gavin's holding a daughter, Penny, while David's holding a son, Max, at the finish line. Don't they look like proud dads? I don't know whether they're more proud of the kids or the triathlon they've just done.
I know, they're definitely wearing their medals proudly. Well, one of the babies is holding the medal as well. So, yeah, lovely to see. A great family affair there. Well done, guys. Our next picture comes from Jamie, and he's very proudly sent in his Quintana Roo PR6 disc. He is in Chicago, and he says, my first ever tri bike. Can't wait to get the fit dialed in and start shredding.
Shredding? I think you bought the wrong bike, mate. You were supposed to buy a mountain bike if you wanted to start shredding.
Well, it's his first tri bike. He's learning the lingo as well, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, don't go down the trails and start jumps or anything on that bike. We do like your bike though. It does look pretty cool, so enjoy it.
On to Caption competition, James's favourite part of the show. I can't remember what you came up with last week, James, but this was the picture. Alex Yee drinking champagne from his shoe. What did you suggest? Do you remember?
Yuck.
I like it. All right, well, we've thankfully got some more suggestions to share with you. Barrett comes in with, I'm getting notes of mesh, foam and carbon on the nose. Allow me to tread lightly, but I don't think this stacks up against the other champagne.
Oh, some wine taste in there. Nice. M1 says, this champagne is really good for the soul.
Sounds like you've been drinking too much champagne there. Stu Conway, the epicenter found for latest global outbreak of foot and mouth.
Yeah. Samantha Hollis says, New Balance announces their new innovative built-in electrolyte recovery system.
But our winner this week is Jenny Williams. The sweet taste of victory and not defeat. I really like that one.
Very clever, yeah.
Well done, Jenny. Get in touch and we will send a water bottle or a GTN cap out to you.
And this week we have this video, which we actually saw in Reacts earlier, of Magnus Ditlev missing his head with a champagne shower, which is actually beer shower, and he completely poured it over his back. So I went with, if you can't drink it, pour it over your head. Was lost in translation with Magnus Ditlev.
Well, that brings this week's show to an end. There's a lot to come from Ross, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Obviously, Quinn, our cameraman, his triathlon journey is coming out on the weekend. We've also got a transition tour that Mark is going to be bringing us. Yeah, and don't forget to head over to the GTN shop where you can get these cool jumpers and hoodies, brand new, yeah. So head over to the GTN shop for those, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for all the GTN content. And if you're looking for something to watch right now, as we mentioned earlier in the show, Mark did a tech tour at Challenge Roth, and you can go check that out there. There's all kinds of interesting things like 3D printed bike shoes.